Hi, I'm Brennan Aberle. I'm one of the partners at Aberle and Wall, and this is my coworker Louie. He's sits around at the house all day, is lazy, eats a whole bunch of food, and doesn't make any money. Thanks to coronavirus, we now share all of those things in common. And let's take a moment to address that elephant in the room here. It is no coincidence that I am teaching a class entitled Using Technology to Work Remotely at a time when most of us are under stay at home orders with some limited exceptions for essentials. The legal community, like every other industry in the world right now, due to the global pandemic, uh, has been uprooted. We can no longer, at least in the short term, operate our law firms in a way that allows us to run back and forth from the courthouse all the time and have clients coming through the door and sign documents for us. We have to be at home with our hair that is getting out of control because we can't get it cut. Some of us with beards that are starting to get wild, and with furry coworkers who get dog hair on everything. We are all in a difficult situation, and I have called several of you colleagues of mine when I was putting this together because I wanted to survey some of you and ask you what kind of technologies you used, so that I could try to provide some information that you may not have been exposed to before. And it seems like all of us are thinking about the same thing, which is uh, that it is a scary time to be in the practice of law. The phones ring less. It is difficult to keep your practice going the way you were doing before. And our clients, the people who we're here to protect and care about, they're suffering economically. And the reality is it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for us to maintain some sense of normalcy, but there is hope. The reason I put this together is I believe that even outside of a situation like this, even when this is done and over with, and it is a hopefully a distant memory someday, that you will take this opportunity to audit the systems that you have in place, look for inefficiencies, and you'll find that some of these technologies, some of these programs I'm going to show you, some of these apps and things will make your businesses more efficient in the future, even if we're not using them simply because we're forced to stay at home. And you might find that by introducing a little more efficiency in your practice, that this will allow you to get out of the office more and spend more time doing some of the other things that you like. And so there's hope. That's why I've put this together, is to kind of show you some of these different ways. It's going to be kind of an entry level explanation of some of these tools, and I'm going to cover about 5 or 6 categories that you may have different levels of knowledge about already. But I'm going to give you kind of a basic run through of these things, and I would encourage you. Every program I show you is there are plenty of demos and tutorials online and ways for you to dive in deeper to compare prices and compare which ones are more user friendly and stuff like that. So, um, this is going to be an entry level opportunity for you to see ways that you can maintain some sense of normalcy in your law practice during this time. And so we will get right into it. So, just to give you a roadmap of what we are going to cover today, we're going to talk about 6 categories. The first is phone systems, so that you can call your clients using the phone number that you associate with your office, even though you're at home. And then, depending on how sophisticated a phone system you want, it can cover a lot of other cool things. We're going to talk about cloud storage, which most of you probably know about, but I'm going to show you a few tricks to use cloud storage to do even more when you're working from home. We are going to talk about case management software. Not everybody uses case management software. It's really a more sophisticated cloud storage that allows you to maintain your client files, keep track of the time that you're spending on cases, send messages inside your office, along with a lot of other cool features that we will talk about. We're also going to talk about using electronic signature software so that you can get signatures from clients without having to have them physically in your office. It doesn't work for every type of situation, but there are some where you can avoid having to always have someone physically come in. We're going to talk about scanning technology. A lot of you have scanners maybe in your office that can be a bit large and cumbersome. But when you're trying to do certain smaller projects, I'm going to show you a few tricks and applications that you can use to do scanning from home. And we are going to talk about video teleconferencing so that you can get as much FaceTime in with clients and other members of your firm from the comfort of your own home. So I'm going to start with phone systems because for many of us, that was the first obstacle that we had to find a way around when we started attempting to work from home. Many of us have a phone number that is associated with our office, and it is how we depend on getting new clients to come through the door and help us pay the bills. And when the quarantine started, some of us had phones that we could forward to our home phones or cell phones, but we didn't have a way to call out to clients using the same office number. So phone systems are a very important part of what we do, how we communicate with clients, and how we bring business in. And so let's take a little time to talk about what I would say are the three major categories of how to use and run a phone system for your law practice. I'm going to give you some of the pros and cons of each category. However, there's one that I prefer that I think fits best for solo practitioners and larger firms alike, and we'll spend some time on that. But this is a bit of a gross oversimplification because the lines between these categories become more blurry as time goes by. But phone systems, for our purposes, and the way, as I've spoken to many of you seem to use, can be broken up into three categories. And that is analog phones, cellular phones, and voice over internet protocol or VoIP phones. So analog phones are probably the one you're most familiar with growing up, and that is the idea that there's a telephone pole outside of whatever building your phone is hardwired in, and copper wire that's running through it, and your phone calls go in and out of a hard line that is wired into your building. It's one of the oldest of these three phone methods that there is. The pros of an analog phone, and it really just may be one, is that it is reliable. Short of lightning striking the pole right outside of your office, you're not going to have a dropped call because you're driving through a tunnel or because the internet is out. They tend to be a little bit cheaper than cell phone service, but for reasons that we're going to see later with the cost effectiveness of internet phones, it's hard to say that the price is too much of a pro anymore. But the main pro is that they're going to be reliable. That takes us to the cons of an analog phone, and this is where the cons really start to outweigh the pros here. The major drawback of an analog phone is you're stuck in that location where your phone is. It does not help you very much to work remotely when you have an analog phone because it is hardwired into that building that you work in. If you unplug the handset, take it home, and try to plug it in at home, you can't ring the office phone and it will ring the handset that you now have at home. Another drawback is that when there's a problem with your service, you're usually going to need a technician. It's not the type of problem that you can call someone online and they can fix or send a data patch or something that takes care of your problem. You're going to need someone to come out and fix it, and that's going to take time. And it is going to create a situation where your phones could be down for some significant period of time while you wait for a technician. And then another major con of the analog phone is that it's going the way of the dinosaur. At some point, probably in the next couple of decades, there won't be many systems that exist like that anymore. As the world moves more towards using the internet or cellular technology, at some point it's going to be difficult to do the upkeep and have people qualified to do the upkeep on phones like that. So I have no recommendations that you use this type of system. Some of you prefer it, and if that's what you prefer, that's okay. But the analog phone has far many more drawbacks than it has pros. And so let's talk about the other two types. So that brings us to our second category, and that is the ever popular cell phone. It's one that we're all familiar with, at least in our personal lives. You can get service from Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, on and on and on. And it's an easy system that you're familiar with. What are some of the pros of using a cell phone with cellular service as the phone that you use for running your practice? Well, the major pro is that you have completely eliminated the problem of working remotely or working in your office and still being able to send calls, place calls, and receive calls. So the major pro is that it is entirely portable. Another pro is, and I didn't mention this as a con on analog phones, but another major pro is that you can text clients and send emails and do all types of other communication through a cell phone. And that can make your life a little bit easier because your clients, most of them all have cell phones. And if they've forgotten to bring an insurance letter or a copy of the registration or something, you can have them text a picture of it to you, and it just makes things simpler. So those are the major pros of using a cell phone. Obviously, it's super portable, and it makes things easier as far as communicating other types of media back and forth with your clients. Now, there are a couple of drawbacks. One drawback is, and it depends on whether you use your cell phone as personal use and work. Some of you do, particularly solo practitioners. You have a cell phone, and the number that you have as your personal number is the one you list on your website, and it's the one clients use, and they call you. It's a matter of personal preference. If you're okay with that, then it's not necessarily a drawback. But for some of you, the solution is that you've taken on another cell phone line, which creates another drawback, which is that cellular service can be expensive. It also creates a problem if you're in a firm with any more than just yourself, because if you want to have consistent type of communication across the board, are you and your law partner and an associate and a paralegal all going to have cell phones, and those are all going to have separate lines, and they're all going to cost the full cost of having a separate cell phone line in your office. So the drawbacks of just using a cell phone without adding to it what I'm going to get into in this third category is that if you're just using a phone for personal and work purposes, you tend to get lines crossed, and you might get more traffic through your phone than you intend to. If you're using separate lines, it can get expensive, and it can be difficult to maintain the same level of communication across everybody in your law practice without spending a fair amount of money. So that's the situation with cell phones, and let's talk about the last category. So that brings us to our third category, and that is Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP phones. And this is the technology I'm going to recommend you probably use in almost every case where you're running a law practice, unless you find that you are a solo practitioner and just using your one cell phone is the best way for you. Obviously, that's going to be the cheapest thing for you to do. But if you have even more than one person, or you don't want to use the same cell phone for work and personal, using a voice over internet protocol type system is going to give you the best of all of the other phone systems with very few of the drawbacks. So in a nutshell, voice over internet protocol is a system where you get to keep your line, your phone number, whatever number you have, and you're going to transmit voice data over the same digital networks that already provide your internet. So your phone system is tied to your internet, but for reasons I'm going to get into in a minute, it's not necessarily constrained if your internet were to go down. So let's talk about some of the pros. One is voice over internet protocol phones are cheaper. You're bypassing the typical types of networks. There are several companies out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about Vonage today because it's the one that I use, and I think it's kind of the gold standard of VoIP phones. But AT&T offers this same type of service. There are other companies out there. I think Ring Central's a big one, and others. But Vonage is one that has really nailed the user friendliness and cost effectiveness of voice over internet protocol. So how does it work? You're going to be able to have a handset if you're a traditionalist who likes to use a handset. You could set it up as a main phone in your office that gets all of those phone calls when they come through the door. That'll come through your handset. However, you'll notice in the back here, none of these phones are connected into a traditional phone jack that you have in your wall. There's a power cord. This is a handset cord. This is an Ethernet cord that's going to come from your Ethernet line that provides your internet. Now you can, if you like to have it hardwired into your computer as well, instead of going on a wireless network, you can then plug a separate Ethernet cable that goes out of your phone and into your computer. So your phone and your computer can both be hardwired into the internet if that's what you prefer. And you can make it so that you have one line with several virtual extensions. So everybody else in the office can have their own handset, and if the main line gets a phone number and we want to transfer that to you, it's just like normal analog phones where you can transfer, type in an extension, and send that out. But where it's different is those virtual extensions do not need to be handsets. They also don't need to be all of one type of thing. So you could have both if you want. I use a handset as my extension. The main phone is with my paralegal up front. And if she transfers a phone call to me, it's going to ring on my handset, but it will also ring to my cell phone at the exact same time. Now, you can change that if you decide you don't want to be taking phone calls to your cell phone. It's very easy to switch that function off. But if you have 4 or 5 people in your law firm, everyone can use either a physical handset if that's what they prefer, or they can use a cell phone if that's what they prefer, and they could use both at the same time if that's what they prefer, which is how I have mine set up. So how does it work on a cell phone? What you're going to do is set it up so that you're going to have an app of some kind. So right here I have the Vonage app, and if I open that app up, it provides just like a regular type of cell phone system, except instead of when I call out clients seeing my personal cell phone number, they're going to see the office number that I have set up because the app is going to connect digitally to the same network. So a couple of things about the Vonage cell phone app interface that's useful is, like I said, it's very easy to toggle. Right now, this little green dot next to my name is indicating that I have I can take phone calls to my cell phone when the phone rings, but I can also very easily with the swipe mute this device if I don't want to take phone calls, and it can be done that quickly. The other nice thing about this interface is that I can use it to text message any client from your office phone number. It can receive media files like videos and pictures and things like that. And it can also have inter-office messaging. So there is a way to set it up so that if I wanted to send messages to my paralegal or be in a group chat with my paralegal and my law partner, all of that can be done on your virtual extension as well. Other nice things about it: when you get on the internet, there's an administrative portal if you're the person who set it up for your firm, and it is very user-friendly, very easy to use to assign extensions, add users, switch from cell phones to handsets or make it ring for both, set up different types of voicemails for everybody, and also a very cool feature is you can set it up to ring in a certain order if you need to make sure you're not missing a phone call from a potential client. So the way we have ours set up is if somebody calls our main office line, it's going to ring to my paralegal who might typically answer the phones. But if she's unavailable, or if it rings more than, and you can set it to be any number, say 3 times, that 4th ring is going to come to my phone just in case I want to have a fail safe to be able to answer that phone when a potential client calls. I could set it to ring on my phone 2 or 3 more times and then go to a voicemail, or I could have it set up to ring on my phone 2 or 3 more times and then ring my law partner's phone or anything like that. So it's very customizable. You don't need to have a technician come out. These are stuff that are very easy to figure out. And if you do have a problem, Vonage has a very quick response time on either doing a chat with them over the internet or placing a phone call to a technician who can work remotely to help you fix your problem. And the last thing before I get into the computer interface is what makes a VoIP system so portable is if you prefer to have a traditional handset and a situation happens where you can't be in your office much anymore, these phones are networked using certain serial numbers and identifying numbers that you plug in when you're setting up your system online. So if I wanted to take my handset home and plug it into my internet at home, I could still have the office phone number ring there at home if I'm going to be working from home for the next couple of months. So it's very inexpensive. There are a couple of different pricing plans that they can set up, and it changes it depending on how many features you want. But Vonage's starting price is $19.99 to set up service. The only other out-of-pocket costs that you'll probably have is if you wanted a handset, you can buy those separately, and that is a non-recurring cost. But Vonage offers several very competitive price lines out there that are cheaper than your traditional cell phone. To summarize the pros of using a VoIP phone, they're inexpensive. They are incredibly portable. You almost don't need to do anything to switch your practice from working at the office or at home if you have it set up so that you can get phone calls to your cell phone. And then finally, and I alluded to this earlier, I meant to mention it, is that they're also extremely reliable. So one of the criticisms of a VoIP phone might be, well, hey, if your internet goes out at work, is that going to prevent you from being able to place phone calls? And it might prevent you temporarily from placing a phone call from your handset if your internet was completely down at the office. However, most of the time when I'm placing a phone call from my cell phone, I'm not on a Wi-Fi network or something like that. And the reason I can still place phone calls from my office number from my personal cell phone using the Vonage app is because the way that the virtual extensions work on your phone is that it's going to co-opt your internet from your cellular service. So anywhere that you have cellular service, you're also going to have the ability to make and receive phone calls through the Vonage app and really any other voice over internet protocol system where you have a virtual extension set up on your cell phone. So they're reliable, they're inexpensive, and they're very, very user friendly and easy to maintain yourself without needing to have a technician come out. Before I show you the interface for the Vonage system that you can have on your computer, because you can also have it set up on your computer as well as your phone as well as a handset, is there is another cheap option if you're interested. So Google Voice also has a voice over internet protocol system where you can place a phone call from a Google number that is not necessarily and wouldn't be your personal cell phone number. With the magic of technology, I should be a tiny person in the corner showing you what is on my computer screen. So first thing I want to show you about Vonage is the administrative portal. And this is actually a web page that you will use to control all of the aspects of your VoIP system. Through the administrative dashboard, this is how you can add users, take users out, assign extensions, create new extensions for people. You can set it up so that the extension is to a handset or to a cell phone or to both at the same time. This is how you change the order that the phone rings in. You can actually set up virtual receptionists here. So there is a lot of ability here put together in a very user-friendly way for you to manage and customize the entire way that your phone system is going to work without the need to have a technician come out and set it up. Again, like I said, you can call and they're pretty responsive and usually pretty quick about either answering your phone call or chatting with you online through their tech support to walk you through this, but it is very user friendly. So that is the virtual dashboard for maintaining everything. This is the app itself. And the app on the computer looks a lot like the app that's going to be on your cell phone. As you can see here is where you can mute this device if you don't want it to ring to your computer. Down here you can place a phone call from your computer with the outgoing number being your office number. So I can, anywhere in the world that I am and can set this computer up to connect to the internet, I can place phone calls from my office number, same thing from my cell phone. You can receive text messages from clients here that will all add up into this, that will aggregate here. You can check your voicemails. You can also set it up to transcribe voicemails into text if you want to check a voicemail while you're sitting in a place you can't answer the phone, like court. There is team messaging here if you want to send messages between other people who are in your network. In my circumstance, it would be to my law partner. One last thing that I want to show you here in the Vonage app, and you can do this from your phone or from the computer version of the application, is you can actually have these cool video phone calls. And when I talk to you a little bit later about video teleconferencing, I'm going to talk to you about a couple other companies that do that, like Zoom, Facebook Messenger, and Skype, and a few others that allow you to do video teleconferencing. But Vonage has its own video teleconferencing within the system here. So it's this simple. You'll click on meetings. I'm going to start a new meeting. It has all the people in my network currently. So I have my paralegal and my law partner. Let's go ahead and check on my law partner. So we will just click on her name, add her to the conference here, and we'll hit join meeting. You might want to check. Sometimes the camera will default to a different camera. Hey there, Julie.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thankfully, I'm dressed for working in the office, but I have my COVID mask lines on as proof of being prepared.
And Julie, I apologize. I've got a little bit of an audience here. One other thing I want to show you that's very cool about this program is that up here you can hit share screen. So if we're having a video conference and I want to show Julie something that I'm working on, I can click that button and she will immediately be able to see what it is on my screen that I'm working. And there is also a recording function if your law practice needs to have some of these meetings recorded. So good talking to you, Julie. Hope you stay safe and healthy out there.
Thanks, you too, Brennan. Bye.
All right, and that is the Vonage video teleconferencing feature. So we will, there's a lot of different phone systems out there, many different ones that I recommend, but Vonage is what I still think is probably the best out there for most people's different types of practices. So we'll move on to the next category. So the next category is cloud storage, and I won't spend a lot of time on this because for most of you, this is probably an area that you're at least somewhat familiar with. The concept of having digital files stored on servers that you can access from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection and a way to get into whatever your cloud storage system is. So everybody has one. Microsoft has OneDrive. Apple has the iCloud. There's Dropbox. Google has Google Drive, and on and on and on. Many of your email services have some type of way to allow you to do storage digitally. So what I will spend some time on, though, is the next category that I'm going to get into is about case management systems. And the nice thing about case management systems is they create an easy way often to integrate a lot of the things that you do: client contact, billing, making sure you've got something to print out for receipts, a calendar, all kinds of things get integrated into a digital case management system. But I don't believe there are any good case management systems that are free. And so one thing that you can do if you're trying to save money and you want to be able to create a system where if you had to get out of the office, you could access all of your clients' contact information, your calendar, copies of things that are in their files, copies of motions and documents and everything that you've worked on. One way that you could do that is by using a cloud storage system that also has a calendar involved. And then that way you can cover most of the things that you would need, that a case management system would cover, but you could do it for essentially free. So we're going to talk about Google's cloud storage system. There is a slight cost associated with it if you have Google Suite, which allows you to have an email that's got your own name in it. So for example, if you don't want your name at gmail.com, you can purchase a Google Suite for, I feel like it's around $6 a month for like the business level. And that's how I have an email address that is Brennan at aberleandwall.com. So you can purchase that, and then it's going to come with everything else that Google has to offer: your Google Calendar, Google Drive, and several other important apps. So what I want to do is I'm gonna walk you through Google Drive a little bit and show you how you can get most of the best parts of a case management system for the low price of just using Google's cloud storage system. All right, so most of you are probably familiar with Gmail. This is the page that pops up when you are logged into your own personal Gmail account. And I told you that there's a cost associated if you have Google Suite, which would appear up here in this corner where you see this B. This would actually say Google Suite if you had that type of account. But what I'm going to show you is the completely free way to do all of this, particularly if you're in a solo practice and you're trying to save some money. You may not find that you need Google Suite, but Google Suite does allow you to get that nice email address. Here I just made up this email, aberlewall@gmail.com. But if you want to drop that Gmail and make it something that's more personal, you'll need to get the Google Suite. So up here there's these dots, and these signify a lot of the apps that Google has. So let's take an example of one. Here's that Google Drive that I was telling you about, and this is the cloud storage system, and you're going to get 15 gigabytes completely free. You can update, you can upgrade and pay for different versions and end up getting more storage if you want. 15 gigabytes is a lot if you're really just storing documents and things. But if you start to get into videos and things like that, that you don't want stored on your personal hard drive and want stored in the cloud, you may consider upgrading. So really nice thing about Google Drive is it's very easy to upload and create documents, folders, share those documents with other people, and then it's got its own word processor and spreadsheets program that's already in it. So I'll create a new one just to kind of show you how it works. So here's Google Drive, and you can access this, like I said, anywhere that you get on the internet and log into this account. So it's not saved on your computer. You would click New, and let's say you wanted to create a new Word document. Google has its own. You could upload Microsoft Word or WordPerfect or whatever word processor you use. You can easily upload those documents into here. But if you want to use their own word processor, we'll open a new document. We'll call it using the Google Docs. So you can actually come up here. It's very simple. This is how you would type the name in. Let's make up a client, and we'll call him Doe, John. Here you would type all the things that you wanted to. If you wanted to keep call notes or contact information about John Doe here, you could do that. And then if you wanted to share it, you could click Share here, and it will prompt you to give it to other names or email addresses of people. So if you're working in a firm that has 3 or 4 people, if you share this document with anybody else in there, everyone's going to be able to see it and access it, and you can change the permissions on whether they can edit it and stuff like that. But it creates a way for you to have essentially digital or liquid files that everyone in the firm can use. Now, here's the other fun part. There's not really a save button because it's constantly saving, so you can just close the document out. And we'll reload the My Drive page, and it should pop up that extra document that we just created. Here's John Doe. Let me show you one I created moments ago. This is John Smith. Just to give you an example of how to keep a digital file. Now, you'd never want to completely replace a physical file, but let's say you're going to be out of the office for a couple of weeks. You can put their name in, address, write down what they're charged with. I put down is communicating threats and what the case number is. I put the alleged victim in. I'm going to come back to why in just a second. And then you could keep track of time this way if you wanted to. You could keep it in a Word document. April 1st, open file, 0.1 hours. April 2nd, had a phone call, 0.3 hours, and you can put notes in there. April 15th, he had a court date, and the case was set for trial for May 15th. So we'll get out of that. Now, why is it cool? One of the other things I like to show you is, so you can upload a whole lot of documents in here and then just create as many files or folders as you want. Down here, I created price quotes for potential clients, but you could make that, you could create a folder for just your client contacts. You could create a folder for all of the fee applications or timesheets. You could create a folder for all of the motions and documents that you use or common forms, so you can log into that and print out an order for arrest, recall, or whatever you need. So it's like having a computer online. And then the nice thing about Drive is Drive, just like a regular hard drive of a computer, is you could search the entire thing. So I told you earlier, I mentioned the victim in that case. This is a good way to do a conflict check. So let's say the victim in that case, Jane Doe, hires me in, let's say she's got a charge out against her right now, and she calls you in the office and asks you to represent her. You can type her name in real quick, and we'll notice John Doe popped up because that's the very creative name we gave for the new client that we built. But there is also a John Smith, which is the other file I had. Doe appears in that, and by clicking on it, it will open up that document, and we can see Jane Doe is the alleged victim. So now we know that there's a conflict potentially in that case. So Drive makes it super easy to search and work through it. It doesn't just have a word processor. It's also got a a program that's very similar to Microsoft Excel. This is Google Sheets. So if you prefer to keep track of time this way, you could use a Google Sheets document, and you can create all kinds of stuff with it. There are several other apps that Google has that you can kind of mess around with. But the last one I'll show you is a calendar, because we certainly wouldn't be complete without having a way to keep track of your court dates if you were using Google Drive instead of using a case management system. So Google Calendar is also very, very easy. If you have the app on your phone, it will send you daily reminders and things. Let's take that John Smith character. We know we made up that he had a court date on April 15th, so we just go in our calendar, click on April 15th. We'll type in, let's say he's in courtroom 1C, so 1C, John Doe, and we'll make that 8:30 is when court starts. Doesn't really matter what the end time is. You can put one in there if you want. Save it, and now we have an event. Now, the reason I put that court date in there first is if I add 20 more clients for that day and I alphabetize it, I don't want it to alphabetize just by last name. I want it to be by last name and court date, courtroom. So if I add 10 more people in here and put that some of them are in courtroom 2C, some are in courtroom 1D, it'll keep those clusters together. And of course, you don't just have to do events necessarily. You could do reminders. So if we wanted to set a reminder to, we've got a deadline coming up in a week to file a motion to suppress. So let's put file motion to suppress in John Doe case. You could set this up to repeat every single day at 4 p.m. to remind you that you have that upcoming calendar event. So here it is. It's going to appear every day until we ultimately set that to end. But you can create reminders and things like that here. And Google Calendar is very easy. The other nice thing you can do is share your calendar with anybody else. So if you have a paralegal who is going to put appointments in here or put in upload documents for you, set up your court dates for your clients, you can give a permission to other members of your firm to control your calendar, and then there you have it. Without paying a single penny for Google Drive or for Google Suite, you can have a calendar that other people can control and help you set up appointments and reminders and everything for. And you have a way to store up to 15 gigabytes of any type of storage, particularly copies or electronic copies of your files, and really any other document that you want. So this is a very cool way to do this that is inexpensive. So now I want to talk to you about case management software. And I've kind of showed you how you can use cloud storage like Google Drive to cover a lot of the different things that case management software can do for you, mostly for free. But if you want a system, at our firm, we use a case management system. We use Rocket Matter. If you want a system that integrates all of these things together, sending messages to other members of your staff, having a calendar that you can easily put reminders and your clients' court dates and everything that make it easy for you to print that out in the mornings before you go to court. You can combine ways to do conflict checks. Most of these have a way for you to run your books. You can print out invoices and actually have a program where you could print a receipt out or email a receipt to your clients after they make payments. Or even ways to keep track of your time. Case management systems most of them all have a built-in timer where you can start it as you're doing a task and then hit stop, and it will automatically populate that into a client's case file. And so case management systems make this a little bit more easy. I'm going to give you a quick demo of one, but it is not going to be nearly as in-depth a demo as you would need if you're using one. And all of the major programs out there can get a demo scheduled for you really, really quick. As soon as you sign up for an interest in one, somebody's going to call your cell phone in like 20 minutes and beg to set up a demo with you. So it's not that hard to get one for free. The main 4 out there are Practice Panther, Clio, MyCase, and Rocket Matter. So let's take a quick look at how one of these works. So I'm just going to show you 2 quick case management interfaces, and I'm a little limited here because this is my dashboard for Rocket Matter, and by typing anything in, I'm going to have a bunch of private client information pop up, so I can't show you everything that it can do, but Rocket Matter, like what I said about most case management systems, allows me to have a calendar that's here. So any reminders that I need to put in, any client court dates and things like that, I can put in a calendar. It's easy to print out and take to court with me. And then in the same interface, I've got a communicator down here in the corner. This allows, my paralegal takes phone calls and can put that in my messages here. So I just check that and see all the clients or potential clients whose phone numbers I need to call and get in touch with them. You can type in, so you'll create what's called a matter, and that matter will cover, an entire charge or set of charges. And then within that matter, you can put their invoices, what they owe, copies of documents, all kinds of stuff. You see there's a timer up here in the corner that you can always hit when you're working on a task. It'll let you type in what matter you're working on and integrate that into their entire digital file, and on and on and on. So these case management systems, they are obviously not free, but they're not expensive, and they tend to make your life a whole lot easier when you're dealing with a particularly higher volume worth of clients. So that's Rocket Matter. Here's Practice Panther. Again, very similar. It sets it up with contacts or matters that cover an entire charge or set of charges. They allow you, both of these programs actually will connect to something like LawPay that allows you to also take payments through this portal. So they each provide a way for you to send links out to your clients and allow them to make payments and stuff, and it can keep track of all that here. So you probably have an external books system anyway, like QuickBooks or something, but this is a nice extra way to keep track of what payments are coming in and going out, so you have an extra set of eyes in your firm on the books. So both of these are great programs, and I haven't used the other 2, but I have spoken with attorneys who have, and everybody seems to have something about each program that they like and prefer it over the rest. But I would encourage you to schedule a demo with any one of these to try them out. They do greatly simplify your life. So that is case management systems. So here's kind of a quick and easy one for you. This is scanning technology. Now, most of you have scanners that are available in your larger printers and stuff in your office. But sometimes you need to scan something on the fly if you're at home, working from home, or you're at the courthouse. A great example would be you go to the clerk's office to pull a file, and you don't want to spend the 25 cents per page to actually scan or get a copy of any individual document in there. The apps that are available now through the App Store on your iPhone or Android have actually gotten pretty sophisticated now and can take really well-defined scanning captures of documents. So most of them, there's a lot of them that are free, and they're free with some limitations, like you can only scan a certain number of pages, or you can only take a certain number of scans per month. But if you pay the fee for them, most of them are pretty cheap. The one I like to use is TurboScan, and this is the app for that. And we'll give you an example. So this is a voluntary dismissal form that a very generous prosecutor could fill out if they wanted to dismiss a case. Sometimes you can convince them to do that. Sometimes I'll just really optimistically fill these out, send them off to the DA's office, see if we get lucky. But we'll use this as an example, and as you can see, this is a little crooked. So when you see the scan, it's not the scan of it that's going to be crooked. This document is just a little off. So you're going to open up your TurboScan app. And then it gives you 3 ways to do it. This middle option will actually take 3 separate pictures, and it gives you a little bit more defined an image. So we'll click on that. It will open up your camera, and then it will prompt you to hold it out a certain distance. And then just like that, it will give you a scanned image. You can change the darkness or lightness of it. And then if you want to take more pictures to scan additional documents, you can do that here and turn it into one PDF file. But if this is good and you're done with it, you'll hit next. And then it will give you the option to send it. And it gives you a couple different ways to do it. You can upload it straight to Google Drive or iCloud or something like that. Or you can click email it, and you can have it email it to yourself. So we'll click email here. It'll give you a chance to type that in, and I will type in an email right now and then show you how quickly and easily that pops up. All right, so we are in our email, and just a few moments ago we sent a picture of the document that we just scanned, and it pretty instantaneously came here and is now right there and available to print out or store in your Google Drive if you want to keep it as a common document. Or you can, if you're creating files that are specific to each client and this is a part of their file, you can just move this document straight over into that client's file and make it part of your electronic file. So it becomes very, very easy to scan things like discovery, court documents, records, things like that, and then move them into digital files so that you can always be able to access them in the event that you can't go to your office. So another cool tool you can use that dovetails really nicely with the scanning technology is the use of electronic signatures. Now, you can't use it in every single circumstance where you're going to need an original signature, but there are a lot of times where you can, and this is a particularly helpful tool. So let's take this document again, the dismissal that we just scanned in, and there's a lot of companies that offer this type of technology. I know Lumen does it. DocuSign is another big one. The one I like to use is Nitro. Now, Nitro is a larger program that allows me to do stuff with PDF files. But if you purchase Nitro once, and it's a digital download, you can also have access to Nitro Cloud, which is a program that offers a lot of things, but one of them is electronic signatures. I like it because it's really user-friendly and it makes it very easy to get signatures in sometimes tiny boxes that will make it fit with almost any kind of document that you need. So let's take a look at that. All right, so this is the interface for Nitro Cloud, and to get a document in, we're just going to click Send for Signature. There's ways that you can pull it straight from a shared drive, but I'm going to pull it off my hard drive here. Here is that voluntary dismissal form that we just scanned in. And you're going to send it to, I'm just sending it to myself. But, this could be a client or a district attorney or whoever you need. And then here's a copy of the document. This is what I like about this program. So you can put in your own signature first if you want, if you've got one saved in here. For this is the recipient, even though it's still technically me for this demo, but you would drag over the signature line, and I'm going to put it in the prosecutor line. I realize I would never be signing this document, but I just want to give you an example of how it looks. So you can stretch this out and make it fit perfectly into that box where exactly you want the signature to be. And then it's going to populate automatically an email for you that has the subject line, Brennan Aberle is requesting your signature. Please sign the document. Of course, you can change that to make it say whatever you want. And then you immediately hit request signature and the document is sent off. Now, somebody can check this on their smartphone and sign it that way, or they can do it on their computer. So let's go into the email. This is the email I sent it to. So here is an email that they've gotten. They'll hit sign the document. It will bring this the document up for them on that website. They don't need to have Nitro to do it. And then here is a copy of the document. It'll show where the signature line is being requested from. They will click on it. They can do it with their phone or not. I've already done one of these, but let me show you another example. They can type it in, upload it, pick a color of pen. Let's just sign this like this. Create signature, and they'll get a chance to make sure it looks like what they want, and they'll hit submit. Now, the moment they open this document, you will get an email saying that they've opened it. And then the moment that they sign it and submit it, it will get sent back to you. So we can check this document out now in my email, or we can actually just go back to the main Nitro page, and it will have completed documents that have now been signed. So let's take a look at it. This is the document I just sent to myself. It's got the signature placed in there, and you can now print it out and do whatever else you need to. Put it in your files, file it, whatever is next. So very simple program, makes it very easy. You can actually set it up to send this document for signatures in a certain order if you need it to be signed by multiple parties. So very easy interface to use, and one that I definitely recommend, but there are a lot of programs out there. So that brings us to video teleconferencing, and I showed you a little earlier, you can do that with Vonage with people in your network. But if you want to, and you absolutely should, get as much face-to-face contact as you can with your clients or with other parties that you're dealing with, there are a number of programs out there that allow you to do video calling without having to give out your personal Facebook Messenger or Snapchat or cell phone number. Skype and Zoom are the two kind of most popular ways to do that. So let's take a look at Zoom. That's the one that's kind of all the rage right now, and the one I'm most familiar with. All right, so this is the Zoom interface. It's the same on your phone as it is on your computer. It is very easy to have. You can have a meeting up to like 100 people without even paying for like the first base level. Otherwise, this is free. Zoom is free. It does set a time limit on you. If you have a meeting of more than 2 people, it's like 40 minutes, but you can obviously expand that if you pay for the upgrade. And then the other nice thing about Zoom is you can schedule a meeting in the future. It'll give you a link that you could just email directly out to your clients, and they will click on that link and be brought into your meeting at the appropriate time. You can also get a meeting ID with a password and just text it out or send it out. It makes it very easy to get in. So let me give you a quick example. We're going to start a new meeting here, and let's go ahead and add some participants. So we are going to invite my law partner, my father, and my wife. And they're all going to get a notification, and it will go to if they accept the meeting, it'll put them in a waiting room. You can set it up so there isn't a waiting room. They can join automatically. But if you set up a waiting room like I did, it'll tell me who's all in it. And then once I see that everybody is in there, I can go ahead and admit them all. Here we go. We got all 3 of them. So let's hit admit all. And you can set up a video just like that.
Hi, Brennan.
Easily. Hey,
can you hear me?
How you doing?
Hey.
All right, how you doing?
Good, good. I see my wife is sideways in the quarantine. Oh, there we go. All right. So one last thing I want to tell you all about is down here there is a record button if you need to record meetings, and then there is also a share screen button, kind of like the Vonage app that I showed you earlier. If we're all having a team meeting and I want everybody to see a document that I'm working on, I can just hit share screen and everybody can be in on the same thing. So hope y'all are enjoying your day. Good to see everybody. And
we are.
I'll see y'all later.
Okay.
Right.
Good to see
Bye.
you.
Bye all.
Bye.
All right, and that is the Zoom app. So that's it. I hope you were able to find some of this information useful, not just for the next time we all get stuck in a quarantine, but also the next time you have a child that's sick at home, or you just feel like not going into the office nearly as much in your life. I hope that some of these programs and tools that you can learn much more about by getting online and looking up tutorials and demos, I hope you're able to use that again in the future. Go to www.aberleandwall.com to view this video later and other videos that we'll be putting up. And we're trying to put together a lot of resources for attorneys. So if you'll go to that site and click on attorney resources, it's constantly being updated, and we're adding more and more motions, documents, and other things for defense attorneys to use. So stay safe and healthy out there.